welcome to Tuesday with Tammy. Of course, I'm Tammy, and we have Lance Smith here today.
Wahoo! Yeah,
and Lance is a race car driver and
a car builder more than a race car driver. But yeah, that's what I am. Tammy's probably going to tell you a little bit more about me first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I will. Lance's passion for cars,
it is, yes,
and racing began very early. Growing up as a son of a structural steel iron worker with a love of racing and sports cars, he attended his first Indianapolis 500 U.S. Grand Prix at the age of 6.
Yep. Dad turned me around.
And for our listeners who can't hear very well, we can talk a little louder, please.
All right. Yes, we will. Fine.
Okay. Learning to weld and fabricate.
Yep. Dad taught me all that when I was 10. Started at 10 doing that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
You assisted your dad, huh?
Yep. And of course, at that time, I also fell in love with the shapes of cars and everything else. So, began my drawing. So that I love cars and love the shapes and started drawing as a 10-year-old. Yeah, it's fun.
How lucky were you?
I got encouraged, so it worked really well. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Earning a bachelor's degree in fine arts and communication, graphics, photography, Lance here formed a suburban Philadelphia advertising and marketing agency, which you ran for 25 years. Is that right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I came in as a designer, wanted to be a corporate art director, achieved that when I was 26. And then started my own design studio, which led into a full agency with about 12 people. So yeah, it was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
After retiring early, you moved to San Diego.
Yeah, I realized that what am I working so hard for? I need to enjoy my life a little bit more. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, and historic racing, treasure hunting,
Yep.
automotive restoration,
Yep.
race car collecting,
Yep.
and hot rod building is his passion full time.
I am. Yeah, I'm lucky enough to take my hobby and turn it into a full-time job, and enjoy it every day. And of course, it's never work when you get to do something fun. So yeah, good.
That you love, right?
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you had a 12-person advertising and marketing agency located in Villanova, Pennsylvania.
Sure. We're both Pennsylvania people, so it worked out well. I migrated my way down outside of Philadelphia to Villanova and enjoyed that area also. Yep.
You provided creative services including marketing, public relations, design, copywriting,
Yep.
photography, and production service to a diverse group of clients in the biomedical, high-tech, food service, education, machine tool, electronics, and automotive industries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was diverse. So what I like the most about the agency world is learning about a customer's products. Really getting diverse and learning all about unique things you never even knew existed. And then became really knowledgeable and became an expert because we had to write the copy, we had to create everything for them. So it was good.
You become an expert
Yep.
little before you even knew you were going to be. I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, my biggest customer was in the high-tech industry, and he made robotic equipment for the silicon wafer industry. So it was interesting. And it fit me mechanically, and then also with the high-tech, it worked out really well.
Wow, what a challenge.
It was fun.
I love challenges, and yeah, that's fantastic
Yeah.
to be in that.
Yeah.
Huntington Cars Race Rods.
Yep.
Located in Ocean Beach neighborhood here in San Diego, California, provides a variety of service to high-performance automotive industry, including procurement, restoration, mechanical maintenance, fabricating,
Yep.
race car setup and preparation, transportation and track service, along with maintaining your own collection of SCCA production. I'm sure you can Google all these abbreviations if you really want to know.
Yeah.
IMSA, Trans Am,
Yep.
Can-Am, and NASCAR race cars, and high-performance, exotic, muscle cars, and hot rods, which I was lucky just to have a tour of.
Yeah. We do, and again, my passion has taken me with the racing. It's taken me through all the various racing categories that were really popular through the 60s and 70s and 80s, and then all other aspects of cars, all the way down to hot rods and just road cars. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. Very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
As a successful entrepreneur, marketer, designer, fabricator, racer, and cheerleader, Lance, you bring, a lot of experience and skills to any organization, challenge, or task at hand.
Yep, that's it. I mean, just of late, I've been working with a nonprofit group that works really closely with young high school women, ladies, and that have a passion for engineering, have a passion for automotive, possibly even racing. So I'm working with them and helping them, guiding them, and also working here in the shop, bringing them in. We're working here too.
Wow.
So it's good.
That is good.
A lot of fun.
Okay, Lance, your first question here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what is it like to make a living out of a hobby? Hot rods and race cars.
Well, again, as I mentioned, I'll go a little bit further. When you get to do something that you really enjoy, it's not work. Okay, it's hard. Just as I said to you, later this evening when we finish, I'll come back and do something in the shop. It's a full-time, more than full-time. It's equivalent to 2 jobs. I would relate to it because I have my part of the job that I have to do to generate income, to pay for things, and then the other part is when I get to play with more of my toy-related stuff. So the stuff I'm selling versus the stuff I'm keeping are 2 different categories, and makes it work. But to be able to do your hobby, as I'm living the dream. The dream is real passionate for us, the guys who enjoy cars, and when people come to see me, they say, wow, you couldn't build a better life. And that's the truth. It really is the truth. 2 blocks from the beach, a big group of crazy cars and everything else I need all in one spot. It's fantastic. Yeah.
But like you mentioned, a lot of work and a lot of dedication.
Yeah. I mean, I work probably 100 hours a week in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's equivalent to 2.5 jobs. But it's not all work. I play 100 hours a week in the shop
because you love it.
Yeah, and again, and it's not just the physical work. It's the opportunity to use the internet and track parts, track cars, talk to my friends, talk to my customers, and just enjoy the hobby 100%. Yeah.
I'm just thinking as you're talking, how amazing it must have been to be that small child, 6 years old, 10 years old, and
yeah. Well, and to relate to it, my father took me out racing with him just at a very amateur level, and then I developed that. But then after going to college and pursuing my career and finally getting my agency to the point that it was comfortable, then I decided it was time to start playing. So I was able to at the age of 30, I started playing with race cars, and being able to go that. And then that's taken me totally away from that business to where I am today. So it's just a passionate thing, and it works well.
It's about our choices.
Yeah. Yes. I've been lucky. Yeah. And I don't know if it's lucky or smart, whatever way you want to say it. It's got me here, and it works well. Yeah.
How did your love for artistic expression and your education bring you into this career path?
Well, again, as I mentioned, or as you noted in my bio, I started early and got encouraged by my father, got encouraged by my mother. I started enjoying drawing. I would draw cars, of course, race cars. I worked with photographs and things like that and developed some skill sets there, and was able to then develop that further through grade school and high school, and then decided I wanted to get into an art career. That's where my talents were. That's where I was drawn. Of course, dealing with guidance counselors in the art department in high school and things like that, I decided I wanted to pursue art, but I also wanted to make a living. I didn't want to be a starving artist. So I pursued graphic design. My goal would be to end up in a corporate opportunity, a corporate art director. As I mentioned, that's where my last real job was, as a corporate art director. I knew that I could generate salary and be able to afford to have a lifestyle. And that took me from the childhood through my passion of drawing cars, then into the corporate world, designing literature, designing ads into websites, everything today that we did. Then as a designer, I rolled into then having to be a creative director with multiple designers. And that worked out really well, and was able to get hands-on with a lot more projects and pursue that passion of making things come together, whether it be on a piece of paper, or whether it be a video, or whether it be an annual report, whatever it may be. You get to see your design and things work, and you get to direct the graphic designers, you get to direct. I had, of course, an art director working with me as I became the creative director, working with the copywriters, working with the account executives, and helping create all the pieces. So it went from just drawing pictures of cars all the way into, as I mentioned, even into high-tech equipment, aviation, food service, all those things. And then I was able to go full circle. Mm-hmm. You know, I started playing with cars again, started enjoying them, and then realized I could make a living at that, mm-hmm. and kept going with that. So it really worked well. So it went from starting with cars through a career for 25 years, then getting back into cars, which still generates my opportunity today to keep going.
Mm.
So
nice
it works well.
Story.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, what is vintage and historic racing compared to other racing like Formula One?
Well, as you relate to, Formula One is probably as I said, at 6 years old, my father took me to Watkins Glen, New York, to the Formula One races, which was only 5-hour drive away at that time. Indianapolis was 8 hours drive away. Totally different leagues of cars, but similar. Formula One was a passion too. It was the world came to Watkins Glen, New York every year, so we would attend that race. Today, Formula One is still continued on. A lot of the other cars that I currently race, those series do not exist today, or have been modified so greatly that they've changed. Vintage and historic racing is really an interesting sport. What we do, and I relate it to when I speak to other people who have passions about sports, I ask them specifically, I said, what's your favorite sport? Someone would say, if just last weekend I was with a gentleman who grew up outside of New York City. And when I was in his home, I saw a group of little images of the New York Yankees. So I said, I bet it's baseball. And he said, yes, it is. And I said, wow, let me explain. Because he had asked me what I did with cars. And I said, well, it's real simple. Obviously, we're the same age, or very similar. I said, you enjoyed the New York Yankees. Well, now imagine, you liked them so much that, Mickey Mantle was your number one star back then. And I said, you decided first you found a Mickey Mantle bat from a specific game. And you said, I'm going to buy that. Now that's at home with you. You've got that in your office or your den or wherever, even your bedroom, hanging on the wall maybe. Then you decided, wow, a jersey came up. You started searching, a jersey came up, and now a glove, and you start collecting. Now you go out and start to search and find all of the tools and all of the pieces that they played those games with. And now you're specifically gone to the World Series in 1968 or whatever year it was, and now you've also collected all these friends that do the same thing. And now you collect the uniforms and all the gear, and now you decide to go to Yankee Stadium and play a game with all your friends. But even beyond that, now you invite Mickey Mantle to come and enjoy it with you. So you're there with your childhood heroes sitting like we are here on the couch, and they're telling you the stories about that game or about the other players, and it's just amazing. So we do that with automobiles. So as a young guy at 6 years old or 8 to 10 years old, your heroes, which were these race car drivers, they became real. And then what we do is we go out and find all their old race cars. The race cars that they raced in those days, and we find whatever's left of them, and we restore them back to the way they were the day they raced them. And then we take them and race them with our friends against each other. And then we invite those race drivers, our heroes, to the races, and we spend the weekend with them. It's just amazing. And then to be able to make a living at it. You know, I'm lucky enough that again, the sport is shared by all areas of wealth, meaning guys that are scraping that, you know, we call it the difference between the hot dog crowd and the wine and cheese crowd. Mm-hmm. It's all of us put together because we share the passion. Some of us can afford certain cars, others can't. So we all come together and just enjoy it tremendously. So it's amazing. Sounds like
so much fun.
It is. It's just beyond. And you get to now go out and enjoy the cars. The cars, and as a kid you dreamed of being able to drive those cars. You at the races, and maybe one of the teams let you sit in one of their cars as a 12-year-old, and you're sitting in there imagining what it would be like. Well, that now became real. And in other instances, as I was in a gentleman, a racer's, again, a hero of mine, Parnelli Jones, up in the Los Angeles area, I happened to befriend him through a group, and we're at a party, and he was there, and we were actually in his museum with his cars, and he had a car that he raced there at Indianapolis that had been turned back to the more historic part of the car before he raced it. So I was able to turn to him and say, you don't understand this, but I was able to sit in your car before you did, but I was only 8 years old. My brother and I had gone out behind the garage area, and there was a car covered up, and we took the cover off. We took turns sitting in it, and it happened to be that car.
Nice.
So we got to sit in his car before he ever did and raced it, and then now he owns it again. So it was an interesting story.
Wow, that is definitely an interesting story. How fortunate.
Yeah, and so that's what we get to share. We get to share all of that. So that's what vintage racing is. Compared to Formula One, again, today Formula One is all sponsorship and money, and again, it's extreme and big dollars. The opportunity for us to be able to enjoy the cars of the past, which we're capable of driving because we have a skill set that we can drive the older cars. We couldn't drive the newer cars. The skill set is way too great. So it's there, but we get to share the passion with everybody. It's amazing.
I'm glad you cleared that up because I was wondering myself. I didn't really know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. The skill set that it takes to drive. I myself am a middle of the group driver. I sometimes can excel myself up into the front, but in most cases I'm a middle of the group driver because I don't have the concentration. I don't have the eyesight, and I also don't feel like running the car to the point of closer to the edge and having an opportunity to have to fix it. So yeah, it's a fun thing.
Mm. So is this like a birthday wish dream come true? It sure sounds like it.
Yeah, I guess as a kid you just go, wow, wouldn't it be nice to be able to race these cars, and how could I ever? And you never really think about how it could happen. You just dream. But then when you look back now, how did it happen? It happened. It came together. And it wasn't, money was not the biggest part of it. It was my skill set that I had as a designer, as a mechanic, as my father taught me how to fabricate. Those all came together, and you don't need money to do that. I would buy a car cheap, to relate to it. I might buy an old race car for $5,000, put all the labor into it, and be able to go out and compete with it with little or no money, because I did all the work myself, and that works really well.
Sounds like you made a choice and you had a goal in mind, and one foot in front of the other, and then before you knew it, voila.
Correct. It just comes together. Now I found that at one point that I could collect the right cars. I was a little bit younger because of my my agency experience and the fact that I did not have a family. I was able to start vintage racing about 10 years. Most of the guys, my peers I was running with and racing with, were about 10 years older. So I was focused on the cars that were 10 years different than they were. So those cars were still available, and I was able to collect them, and collect them rather reasonably. And that's what's gotten me to where I am now, is I collected a bunch of really interesting historic cars, and they're desirable. So, and that's another whole other aspect of it, is the desirability and the opportunity for a return on your investment. Because these cars, if you take a specific Camaro as an example, they might have made 35, 40, 50,000 of those cars in that model year. Well, only 5 of them were raced, and only 2 of them raced really well. So if you can collect those, there's another group of, 300 million people in this country, and there's probably, our world market is there too. So the desirability of that specific car gets up there. So it raises the opportunity to get a return on your investment. So it's worked well.
As you were speaking, I was thinking how you can just, order cars all over the world, or ship your vehicle someplace.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure that happens too.
Yes. I mean, and that's a good point. Vintage racing is all over the country. It's all over the world. Again, what you can afford. Some guys can only afford, because of their jobs, because of their families, can only afford to travel 4 or 5 hours to a track.
Yes.
Where myself, I'm able to get in my transporter. I would pick up a few other customers along the way and transport cars and service cars all the way across the United States. And that would, again, return income to me to be able to afford to do it. I get to go for free, and I make money, so it works well. But I've got to currently have a car in New Zealand that I race. I go down and race with my friends down there. I might get the opportunity in the next 10 years, if I do well, to be able to go over and race in Europe. That's, again, you talked about birthday wish. Well, it might be the opportunity to run at Le Mans, France.
I was just going to say that was highly recommended recently on one of my interviews to go there.
Yeah, it's a great event. I might get the opportunity, because they do every other year they do a big historic and vintage racing event at the track. So in this case, it's costly, but I have a passion for a certain type of car. I have customers that I've built cars for in several countries. One of them happens to be in Sweden, so we would probably use his car. And then I have another customer in New Zealand, and myself. And if we get one other guy, the 4 of us can run that event at Le Mans with 4 drivers.
Wow.
And make it cost effective.
That would be fantastic.
Sure. And then it saves us from shipping cars. And then we'll do the same thing if those gentlemen want to come. Roger, my friend from New Zealand, does come here and race in the United States, and I transport his car. I keep his car here in some cases. In this case, it's back in New Zealand right now, but I've kept cars for him, maintained cars for him here, and then he would fly in and we transport across the U.S. and go race.
You'll have to keep me posted so I can show up for that one.
Sure. Sure.
And maybe my listeners too.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's welcome, of course.
I feel like these cars, these vehicles are your babies.
They are, because again, they're my family, but they're like pets too, but you don't have to maintain them, which is nice. You can close the garage and go out and enjoy yourself, and then come back when they're still there.
That's true.
Yeah.
One of my listeners wanted me to ask you, what's one of the best cars that you have driven? Okay,
best would be a way of defining the word best. Best from a performance standpoint, speed-wise, would relate to probably the fastest car I own right now. And again, some of them I can gear them to go even faster. But the one Indianapolis race car I have from 1980 ran 230 miles an hour down the straightaways at Indianapolis. Yeah, and it ran a lap on the 2.5 mile oval at 207 miles an hour average. Those cars are so scary and so dangerous. When we run them, I was lucky enough, again, childhood passion. As I started out at 6, I got to run at Indianapolis for the first time on the oval a year ago last May. We were invited, one of 75 cars, which I restored a car specifically to race that event. One of 75 cars to get invited, and I got to run on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before the 500 race on Sunday. That car, again, was probably, as far as performance and speed, that one is probably the fastest as it raced at 230 miles an hour. The other McLaren Coupe that I showed you, it ran at Le Mans in 1981, and it ran at 222 miles an hour down the Mulsanne Straight.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are fast cars. But then if speed is what you're after, or what are you really looking for as far as that fun? The most fun car is my Camaro that I'm going to race in 3 weeks. I'll be racing that up at Laguna Seca at Monterey. That car will be running, again, it's not the speed, will make me running 130 miles an hour at the fastest. But again, it's road racing, so you go into corners and turn and go down straightaways. So the average speed on that track is probably about 90 miles an hour for the 2.5 mile circuit. But what makes that car so much fun is, again, I have the skill set to enjoy it at its pretty much close to its fullest. It's traveling a lot slower, it reacts a lot more advantageous for my skill set, and we can enjoy sliding them around, taking them to the limit and enjoying them at that limit. So it's just so much fun. It's slower, but it's more fun, so therefore it's more satisfying. Mm-hmm. So I would have to say, therefore, to answer your question generically, my Camaro or one of my old NASCAR race cars that, again, travel at a lot less speed that you can keep up with, that I can keep up with.
Oh, yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
Any particular year on the Camaro?
It's a 1970. I've had several, that's the Trans Am group of cars. We raced a group of cars that were raced from 1966 to 1972. So if the car had raced in those years, it's able to be raced today in our group. So my Camaro currently is 1970, but I've had a 69 Camaro, I've had another 70 Camaro, and I also have a 1969 Javelin that's not done yet. Mm-hmm. So I've had 4 of those cars, I still have 2. So, yeah.
Congratulations on getting invited. I'm sure that takes a lot of...
It does. Again, that's the other part of, as you mentioned in my bio, it's treasure hunting. Mm-hmm. You know, it's actually finding that treasure that's hidden. It's easier today with the internet than it was prior, but you have to turn over a lot of rocks to find them. The furthest I've gone for a car was New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Second furthest, I brought one back from Munich, Germany. Those are my distant ones, but I've turned over a lot of cars here in the United States also. It's just a matter of doing your detective work. Mm-hmm. You've got to track them from somewhere back. And I used to start with old racing publications and find ads for them and find phone numbers and find out what cities they were and know the names of the guys who had them and then start there. There's been some unique stories. Able to find some cars in some unique ways. I got pretty creative that way to do it. So that's the treasure. That's the excitement. When you find someone finally sends you a picture of what's there and you can identify it was that specific car from that specific race, you do a little dance. You get excited because you just hit a home run, and now you have to, and it might be for sale. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then hopefully they may not know what it is, or because they get lost.
Yeah.
And you know it, but you back it up to that point and find it. So it's fun.
You become a very good detective.
Yeah, you do.
And very creative, that's for sure.
And my being the head of my own agency, that gave me also the opportunity to be able to move quickly on things and move to get them. So I could drop what I was doing. I had people working, and I could jump in the truck and the trailer and go and grab them. So it worked well that way.
I bet you have amazing stories, that's for sure.
I do.
You could write a book with all your stories alone.
You could.
A couple.
Yeah.
What's one of your spirit animals, a book you recommend, or a saying you like to say?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Anything that comes to mind, I'm sure.
A book that I would recommend, I would of course recommend anything that brings your passion out. Latest article that I enjoyed the most was about one of the pilots that flew the SR-71 planes. There's only, I think, 60-some guys that ever flew them.
Oh.
And they're the fastest jet ever. They ran it over Mach 3. But to see it, if you get a chance, jump on the internet, see if you can find it. It's an amazing story of what they did with those planes. They were our spy planes. They never got shot down. They would film, they could film things with them. So yeah, that type of stuff. Technology, again, moving fast. So it's all that. Does that answer your question?
It does. It's great.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the robotics when you started the conversation.
Sure. And again, that also related because I worked with an avionics company who made a lot of avionics for the fighter planes. You know, we had to be certified to be able to even learn the information. So it was interesting because it was all high tech.
Love that.
Military.
So, Lance, what does your future hold for your creative passion? And will you continue down this path?
Well, again, as an artist and a creator, it's more than just cars. It's a little bit of everything. I've done 2 homes. I did an 1817 barn in Villanova that I had my agency in and my cars in, an 1817 stone barn. I restored a burned out building here in San Diego and redid this beach cottage that we're in. And those have been very lucrative. So I'm getting the itch to do another property too. So that's a creative outlet. I got to always keep moving. Cars are easy. I've got plenty lined up. I have enough cars to last me till I'm 50 years dead. But I think I'm going to do another property. So looking at properties right now, and I want to build another home. So, and maybe we'll see.
Sounds like a good plan.
Oh yeah, it's always there. But yeah, keep me going. I've got it gets me up. It gets me up and keeps me going. My day starts at 5 a.m. and it usually goes until midnight with a 20-minute nap here or there, or maybe 2 if I get lucky. So it's just there. It's the passion. It's the drive that keeps you going. When you do something you enjoy, that's the biggest thing. It's not a job, and you just got to keep it there and going for it.
I love that. Always a goal, always something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Any last words?
Just follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. This is a place where you can follow your dreams and achieve anything you want to achieve. The only thing that'll stop you is yourself. There's somebody that'll help you, teach you anything you want to learn, anything you want to understand, anything you want, you can have it if you just go out and find someone else that's doing it and ask them how. They'll help you. Everybody will help you. That's how I got where I am. So yeah, it's great. So yeah, follow your passion and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Ask for help.
Yep, ask for help.
Well, thank you so
All right,
much
Tammy.
for being here.
Well,
Appreciate
sure.
it.
It's been great.
Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. See ya.